Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to tackle a massive challenge, one that everyone in this field faces. How do you get a machine learning model out of a nice, safe research notebook and into the messy, real world? We are going to lay out the complete blueprint for turning that model into a full-scale, production-ready system.
So let's start with a feeling we've all had. You've spent weeks, maybe even months of hard work. You've trained a brilliant model, the accuracy is fantastic, and it runs perfectly on your laptop. But then comes that sinking feeling, now what? How does this thing actually become useful to anyone?
Because here's the thing, the model itself is just one tiny piece of the puzzle. A model just sitting in a Jupyter notebook isn't a product, it's a science experiment. The real, and frankly, the most underestimated, work is building the entire system around it, the infrastructure that brings it to life and keeps it delivering value 24/7.
To get our heads around this, let's reframe the problem. We're not just writing code, we are building an AI factory. And like any factory, you can't just start welding things together. You need a blueprint, a plan. This is that blueprint.
So here it is, the 7 essential layers of our blueprint. It's kind of like building a skyscraper, right? You got to start with a solid foundation, that's your cloud infrastructure. Then you lay down the plumbing and the wiring, that's your data and training layers. Then you build the floors where people will actually be, the serving layer. And finally, you install all the security and management systems that keep the whole thing running smoothly. Workflow, monitoring, and governance. Let's walk through each one.
All right, let's dive in. We're going to assemble our AI factory, piece by piece, starting from the ground up. We'll look at the tools and the thinking you need at every single step.
First things first, you can't run a factory without raw materials. For our AI factory, that raw material is data, pure and simple. This layer is all about that intake and warehousing. It's responsible for getting data, cleaning it up, checking it, and storing it so our models have a reliable supply. Now to manage all those materials, you're going to need some specialized equipment. Your ingestion tools like Kafka are like the 24/7 loading dock, bringing in data in real time. Your data storage like S3 or Snowflake is the massive warehouse. But there's one component here that's a total game changer for consistency, and that's the feature store.
So why is this so critical? Well, a feature store solves this really nasty silent killer of a problem called training serving skew. Imagine you train your model using distance in miles, but when your app goes live, the data comes in as kilometers. Boom, your model's predictions are useless. A feature store acts as a single source of truth, guaranteeing the exact same features are used in training and in the real world. It makes everything way more reliable.
Okay, we've got our raw materials perfectly organized. Now it's time to head to the assembly line. This is where we take our high-quality data and actually build, test, and tune our machine learning models. This is the manufacturing floor of our whole operation. Of course, you'll be using your standard frameworks like TensorFlow or PyTorch. That's a given. But the thing that really separates a professional setup from a weekend project is experiment tracking. I mean, think about it. You've tried hundreds of different parameters and model variations. How on earth do you remember what worked 2 weeks ago? The answer is you don't. You need to log everything.
And that's exactly why these tools are so vital. Something like MLFO is your digital lab notebook, but on steroids. It's a system of record. It lets you compare every run, save every model version, and actually prove, scientifically, which approach was the best. Honestly, this is absolutely non-negotiable if you want reproducible results.
Awesome. We've built a model. It's tested. It's a winner. So, we're done, right? Not even close. Now we have to actually ship it. A brilliant model that nobody can use is, well, it's just a bunch of numbers taking up space on a hard drive. This layer is all about delivery.
Now, there are a bunch of ways to get your model out there, but the undisputed industry standard for doing this reliably and consistently is containerization. It's a simple idea. You package up your model, its code, and all its weird little dependencies into one standardized sealed box. That box can now run identically anywhere, on your laptop, on a test server, in the cloud, it doesn't matter.
And this is where you get this killer 1-2 punch, Docker and Kubernetes. Docker is the tool you use to build that sealed, self-contained box. But Kubernetes? That's your entire global shipping operation. It takes your box and figures out how to run it, how to make 1,000 copies if you suddenly get a traffic spike, and how to replace one instantly if it breaks. It's pretty incredible.
Okay, our factory is live. Products are shipping, high fives all around. But we can't just go home now. We need a central control room. We need eyes on everything. The machines, the quality of the output, and we need an automation system so we don't have to run the whole thing by hand. This layer does two really critical jobs. First, monitoring. And I don't just mean, is the server on fire? I'm talking about the model's health. We're using tools to watch for things like data drift. That's when the real world starts looking different from the training data, which can silently kill your model's accuracy. And the second job? Automation. This is the glue. Using tools like Airflow or Kubeflow, we connect all the other layers into a single automated pipeline.
And this right here, this is the absolute magic of real MLOps. It's about creating a system that can watch itself, a system that can heal itself. The logic is simple but powerful. If we detect that the data has drifted, then we automatically trigger a pipeline to retrain and redeploy the model on the new data. The system improves itself without a human lifting a finger.
We're almost done. We just had the final foundational layers that everything else sits on. First is governance. Now, I know it doesn't sound super exciting, but think of it as your factory's security guards, its safety regulations, its quality control. It makes sure everything is trustworthy. And then, underpinning it all, is the cloud infrastructure. That's the physical land, the concrete, and the power grid that the entire factory is built on.
And let me be clear, governance isn't just about bureaucracy or ticking boxes. It's about building trust. It means every single model you deploy has to be traceable. You know exactly what data and code created it. It's got to be explainable. You can understand why it made a decision. It must be reproducible, so a teammate can get the exact same result. And of course, it has to be secure. This isn't optional. For any responsible AI system, it's a requirement. So, we've walked through all the individual layers of our AI factory. Now let's just take a step back and look at the big picture. The whole shebang, all assembled and running as one cohesive system.
Okay, this puts it all together. But the most important thing to notice here is that this isn't a one-way street. It's a loop, a continuous feedback loop. The monitoring step feeds information all the way back to the beginning. When the system finds a problem, it kicks off a retraining process automatically. A mature MLOps system is a living, breathing thing that's always improving.
All right, this all sounds great, but where do you actually start? To make this real, here are the key takeaways you should start doing today. 1. Always use containers. Period. 2. Version your data just like you version your code. 3. Start tracking your experiments from day one, not later. And finally, for the love of all that is holy, document everything. Your future self will thank you. I want to leave you with a couple of crucial mindset shifts. First, remember this. You can't just go out and buy an MLOps. It's not a single tool you install. You're orchestrating an entire ecosystem of specialized tools, and your job is to make them all work together in harmony. And that leads to the ultimate takeaway. To really succeed at this, you have to shift your mindset. We have to stop thinking of ourselves as just researchers who build models and start thinking like engineers who build robust, reliable production systems. We're not building experiments anymore. We're building products. So as you go back to your own projects, I want you to ask yourself this one critical question. The MLOps stack you're building is the foundation for your company's entire AI capability. So, is that foundation built on solid rock, or is it built on sand? Is it really built to last?